This is RTV6 News at 6, working for you.
Good evening to you here at 6 o'clock. I'm Mark Mullins, broadcasting from my home tonight.
And I'm Amanda Starantino at the WRTV studios. The chance of rain continues, leading to more flooding concerns. We already saw high water and flooding this morning. We've had some dry hours since, but more wet weather is possible. It is a Storm Team 6 alert day. We need to begin with Chief Meteorologist Kevin Gregory. Kevin.
And Amanda, this is why we've had problems here over the last 24 hours, just under 2.5 inches of rain for Indianapolis. And I do think we'll see an additional 2 inches, especially in the eastern portion of the state, and that would be through tomorrow evening. This evening and early tonight. Rain chances in any one location are low. They'll increase as we go overnight with the most likely time tomorrow morning. Eastern Indiana, you've had some heavy rain early this afternoon. That's pinwheeled into Ohio. Look just to the west of the state line. You get into Illinois. Some of those isolated downpours will slide into the state. The reds and purples in eastern Indiana through Wednesday represent where the additional heavy rain will fall from 4 to 7 tomorrow morning. There's the area of rain coming back into the state from Ohio. I'll finish this timeline. We'll talk about a temperature trend that points toward summer warmth coming up.
And as Kevin mentioned, all of the rain we've already received and are expecting to get means there is a potential for flooding. The city of Indianapolis says roads, homes, and businesses adjacent to White River, Crooked Creek, Mud Creek, and other low-lying areas need to be especially prepared and on the lookout for possible flooding. And we saw some flooding this morning. Cars were stalled out at Emerson and Lexington on the east side. This is your reminder. When you see high water, turn around and go another way. Never drive through it. As you can see, you can stall out. But even worse, some floodwaters can carry you and your vehicle away. And that's why it's important to have a device like a weather radio, the Storm Shield app, or the RTV6 app. They will alert you day or night when there is a flood watch or warning issued for your area. The Storm Shield and RTV6 apps are free to download on your mobile device. And tonight, the state is reporting its first case of multi-system inflammatory syndrome in a child that's also known as Miss C. It is believed this syndrome is connected to COVID-19. Children who have it either currently have or had the coronavirus. The state did not release where that child lives. And doctors describe the symptoms of Miss C as a persistent fever, a rash or changes in skin color, red eyes or pink eye, abdominal pain, and swollen lymph nodes. If you notice any of these symptoms in your child, you should call their pediatrician for advice on next steps. And then the number of new COVID-19 cases is slightly down from yesterday, while the number of new deaths has increased a bit. Today, the Indiana State Department of Health reports 492 new COVID-19 cases. That is down from 511 new cases yesterday. So far, 28,255 Hoosiers have tested positive for the coronavirus. The state also confirms 14 new deaths today, up from 11 new deaths yesterday. So far, 1,621 people in Indiana have died from COVID-19. 183,912 people have been tested for the virus. 15% of them tested positive for it. And the state says 39.5% of Indiana's intensive care unit beds are still available. That's more than yesterday when 38% of the beds were open. About 16% of the beds in use are being used by COVID-19 patients. And more than 80% of the state's ventilators are available.
In many cases, emergency medical service workers are the first to treat people with COVID-19. RTV6's Stephanie Wade is highlighting the service and sacrifice made by EMS personnel answering those 911 calls during National EMS Week.
In honor of Emergency Medical Services Week, we are highlighting the strength and resilience of EMS workers, especially during this time, who are the first to come in contact with potential COVID-19 patients.
It's been the best job on the earth. I do know that. I wanted to work here so bad that I couldn't stand it when I first got hired.
Now, 34 years later, Linda Hodge McKinney is calling it quits as an Indianapolis paramedic. She actually submitted her retirement paperwork back in February, not knowing what was in store for her final weeks.
No, if I'd have known, no, I wouldn't have done anything different.
Over the years,
I've seen so many changes that It makes your head spin sometimes.
But nothing like this pandemic.
The closest that I've come to anything like that is when AIDS first was out there, and we actually had to start wearing gloves because we never wore any kind of PPE.
Now, paramedics put extra PPE on, including surgical masks, gowns, face shields, before making runs.
Happy retirement. Thank you.
Here to celebrate Linda's retirement from one of her most challenging runs is Nadia Varga.
I want to have some.
Oh, we will have some. That's the only run in my whole career that ever took my breath away when we first arrived. And she continues to take my breath away, just at the way she's so brave. It makes me cry. I'm just so happy I could be a part of that.
Nadia was critically injured 3 years ago when she was attacked by 2 Rottweilers. Linda responded that day.
I met her when she rescued me.
It was tough. Had to take a big deep breath and then keep moving and take care of her.
What do you think about her retiring?
I'm sad.
Why are you sad?
Because I wanted her to stay a fighter so she can keep doing what she was doing.
Because she helped you.
Yeah, she's a hero.
A hero then and a hero forever. Stephanie Wade, RTV6.
Well, Indianapolis EMS has treated 1,400 patients since March 1st alone who have reported flu-like symptoms. We have a link to a PSA video that paramedics released giving advice on how to protect yourself against the virus. You can find that on our website, theindychannel.com, or on the RTV6 app.
It's a juggling act trying to take care of a child during the pandemic. It's no easy task, but RTV6's Troy Washington is working for you to explain how IU Health is helping moms rebound and thrive through the new normal.
Kayla Swinson is just like the rest of us right now. She's trying to balance working from home while being a mom and not getting out as much as she used to.
Normally, we're so used to getting out of the house and doing things and being active pretty much every day. And so we've been home every single day. And so trying to balance giving them enough activities and things to do, along with my own mental health, which has been a big struggle through this pandemic. And then just worrying about their futures and what the world looks like.
She's got her hands full during the pandemic with a 4-year-old daughter and a 2-year-old son.
After I had my first daughter at IU Health West, they had these awesome groups that they offered to new moms.
And she's stuck with the groups from newborn into the toddler stage. That's until the COVID-19 restrictions put a pause on group meetings.
Moms need support. They need social interaction with other moms, and they need answers to their questions. And when people ask me why I do this, the big reason is because I want to support moms.
Of course, before the COVID-19 pandemic, the meetings used to take place in person. Love knew something had to be done to help parents during this time. She's not meeting them in person anymore, but instead, she's taking the virtual route.
The need is still there. We just needed to find a creative way to meet that need.
But when she said that they were going to do virtual, I was really excited because it brought back an element of normal back into our lives.
So as these parents transition into the new normal, at least they've got the support of each other and the reassurance of knowing they aren't alone in how they feel. Working for you, Troy Washington, RTV6.
Troy, thank you. And there's also a Facebook group for moms looking for support. We've got the details on how to join when you read this story on theindychannel.com or the RTV6 app.
It is our commitment to connect you to job opportunities through our Hiring Hoosiers initiative, and more important than ever, after thousands of Hoosiers lost their jobs because of COVID-19. So today, our Lauren Casey is looking into a field with more jobs open than people to fill them, and that's just not during the global pandemic either.
Our professional network is on the front line of this.
They may not get parades or yard signs, but the work of these so-called last responders is a critical part of our infrastructure.
We go out and we take care of the decedents so that we serve that public need.
The mortuary sciences field, funeral directors, and embalmers. Brian Miller is an embalmer by trade and the program chair for mortuary sciences at Ivy Tech. It's a 2-year program ending with an associate's degree, preparing students in compassionate care for the living and appropriate care for the deceased. The global pandemic may have changed the way we conduct funerals, but the people in this line of work continue to be in demand.
People are going to live, people are going to die. So this is something that, job security wise, would you say that's a benefit because this is something that's not going anywhere?
Currently, the last few years, we've had more jobs available than there are students to fill those. And that's not just here in the state, that's across the country.
And Ivy Tech students are getting a firsthand look at the creativity needed in these trying times to still meet the needs of families.
Like it's a wedding, but done in 3 days instead of 6 months. So it's everything from like clothing, flowers, setup. There's a lot of artistic direction in it.
James Swartout is in his final semester, completing his 320 hours of hands-on work at a funeral home.
I've never been happier doing any work so far.
He first worked in logistics, then was a phlebotomist.
Beforehand, I felt like I was just going through motions. You know, I was just working to live. And now doing this, I feel like I'm actively engaging with people and I'm helping them and giving them something that they need in the time that they need it.
And for James, it's personal.
Funerals help people when they lose someone start that healing process.
Working in this field helped him to work through his own personal struggles with the loss of his father.
And I was very young and I did not deal with it well. And it kind of haunted me for quite a while. And it wasn't until I started getting into this program that I really figured out psychological reasons why.
Workers in mortuary sciences are not grief counselors, but they do play a critical role in the grieving process.
It's probably like a specific type of person. Not everyone's cut out for this.
The true answer is anyone who has a compassion to serve and a sensitive heart and a servant's heart can be successful in our business. What I think you have to understand is the nature of the business so that you don't come out of it thinking that we're crime scene investigators or that we're going to be forensic pathologists or that you're going to work 8 to 5. Those things are unrealistic.
For Brian, the job is an act of service.
Really, the goal of it is to prepare a person to give them some dignity back. So let's put them in their clothing. Let's shave them and clean them and give them some dignity so that the family then can see them and have a healthy grief reaction.
Lauren Casey, RTV6.
So, what should students expect going into this program? Well, we looked that up for you. It's strenuous. We've got to tell you, heavy on classwork, so a good science and psychology foundation helps. There's a lot of hands-on work in the field as well. Prepare to move where the jobs are open. And in terms of safety, Brian says embalming is actually less dangerous for exposure to COVID-19 than funeral directing with proper preparation. Many funeral directors are now speaking with families virtually to avoid exposure.
Since the pandemic hit, people have had to exercise outside or in their homes, not in gyms or fitness centers. The services the YMCA is offering that could help motivate you at home.
And on day first, they were the first to get back on track. NASCAR with a big show at Darlington. No one's more excited about that than Clint Boyer. We'll chat up Tony Stewart's driver coming up in our Sports Extra Spotlight. Apply online today.
We've been showing you some of the great local restaurants that have remained open all over central Indiana. And our Brad Brown, well, he's been eating a lot of that great food, too.
And perhaps you have too, but how do you keep your body in check without being able to go to the gym? Brad shows us how the Indy YMCA is staying open online.
For every piece of pizza, there's some push-ups. For every burger, there's some burpees. And for every shake, there's a shuffle.
15 seconds.
Working out in your living room is only weird if you think it is, but the trainers at the Indy YMCA have put together several online programs to help keep your mind and body healthy during these difficult times.
We're still a community, even though our building's closed. We're still providing and pushing forward with our mission and keeping us all together.
On any given day, thousands of people come through the doors of the branches of the Greater Indianapolis YMCA. For 2 months now, those gyms have been empty, but the Y remains committed to serving its members.
We really wanted to get as much content out there for the really broad spectrum of members and community members that we serve in order to try and keep people as connected with each other, but also well during this time as we could.
Now, the NDY has created an online portal with a wide variety of services, from cardio and strength training.
Let's go, same weight.
Take it to a level that best fits you today.
To yoga and Pilates. The Y staff has something for every fitness level.
The overall intent was still to serve our community and our members in the best way we could, but we had to get really broad in making sure that we were serving a whole lot of needs for a much longer period of time.
And beyond the workouts, there are wellness programs and healthy cooking tips. Activities for kids as well. Going all in online with the Y's mission of serving mind, body, and spirit.
One team, one goal. So we're all in it together, as you know, with the STT, our small group training. And we're all complaining at the same time. We're all sweating, and instructors are there with you, even though it's not in person, but we're still, forming that team.
Whether you're in small group training or you're just a member of our community, we're all in this together. And so we've really tried to sort of focus on that philosophy at the Y and really being there for our community and our members as best we can.
Working for you, Brad Brown, RTV6.
I like the motivation. Thank you, Brad. And gyms are scheduled to reopen next week in phase 3 of the governor's plan. The Y will be making adjustments to smaller class sizes and distancing in their wellness centers. Many of the virtual programs will continue. You can check the Indy YMCA website for information and video links. Kevin.
It's difficult to get outside with the rain that we've had, but we will have some dry hours in the forecast. Just want to show you, now this is just since midnight. I know you've had more than this if you go back through yesterday, but since midnight, Indianapolis just under 9/10 of an inch of rain, just under an inch there in Muncie. In Indianapolis, if you include yesterday, we're about 2.5 inches of rain. The most likely time for rain is tomorrow. The chance is there Wednesday, Thursday, and Friday, but it is low. Our temperatures will climb as our rain chances go down. Just to show you how narrow the band of heavier rain will be along the state line with Ohio, 2 inches or more possible, Muncie 1.5 inches. Now, I'm not totally sold on exactly where that will set up. I just want to show you that additional rainfall will be heaviest east of Indianapolis toward the state line. That makes sense, matches up with the flash flood watch in effect now through the mid-afternoon hours tomorrow. As far as our current radar, there's one little blip in Johnson County down toward Lake Monroe. These isolated showers, some of those downpours will continue this evening and actually increase as we go through the night. I put a big L there in Illinois. That's an area of low pressure, and it's what we call a cutoff low. It's cut off from the upper winds that would move it along. So it basically has 2 speeds, slow and stop. It will drift to the south and east and keep us within the rain shield and bring some heavier rain during the day tomorrow. Lafayette's at 70, 67 in Bloomington. Temperatures tonight stay steady in the 60s. 4 a.m. to 7 a.m. Rain actually comes back into the state, some of it heavy, and by 10 a.m. there you can see the rain along and north of Interstate 70. A little bit of a break as we get to the early afternoon. Well, if you're looking for dry conditions, our rain chances are much lower Wednesday and Thursday. Friday, something begins to happen. Temperature climbs as we get to the weekend. 80 Saturday, what would have been race day, 84 with a 40% chance of thunderstorms, and still 80 on Monday. That's 3 days in a row that temperatures will be at 80 degrees or more. We've just got to get there.
All right, thanks, Kev. A few sports are returning during the pandemic, and this week a major one with NASCAR's return.
The series races several times over the next few days, and starting with Darlington and doing so with safety in mind. Truly first in class. Sports director Dave First with more in the Sports Extra Spotlight.
There were strange sights at every turn. Ticket windows were closed, not a fan in sight. But after a 10-week layoff, they lined up and raced. Sport. Finally.
Clint, did you feel like the eyes of the world were on you yesterday?
Yeah, we all know they would be, right? Everybody, all eyes are watching for a lot of different reasons. A race fan, wants to see cars back on the racetrack. A sporting fan wants to see sports starting back up. A breath of fresh air for everybody.
Seemingly every precaution was taken. Everyone had their temperature checked upon arrival. Drivers were kept away from crews and cars until race time. And masks, everyone wore masks.
Ultimately, at the end of the day, did you feel safe out there?
Absolutely. And I think that's the message that I hope was conveyed is, no matter what the situation is or how bad the pandemic is, I feel like we can still put on a show.
And in the show, every driver had the name of a healthcare worker on their car, as Clint ran as high as 5th before settling for 17th.
Everybody was rusty. You could see it. Everybody was making mistakes, and my guys weren't, right? We were nailing it. I'm like, damn right. All right, boys. But all the while, you're thinking, where's this haymaker going to be coming from, man? Right. You got to be ready for it. Let's have our dukes up here.
Ultimately, it was the Stewart-Haas teammate Kevin Harvick who won for a 50th time, doing donuts only for the cameras and celebrating masked by himself in victory lane. One day the fans will return, drivers, families will too, but it's taking a step.
IndyCar's watching you guys, NFL, NBA, they all want to see how they can get back into it safely. But bottom line, do you think you provided the country something when it's all said and done?
Yeah, I think so. We're going to get this thing back going one way or another. You can't keep an old racer down. It sucked to be there without your family, but if that's what it takes to put on a show and for NASCAR to be back on track, so be it.
In a sport where leading is everything, Sunday, they certainly did that. Day 1st, RTV6 Sports. We continue to honor the graduating spring sport athletes. It's called the RTV6 Senior Salute. We check in at Lutheran. Right-handed pitcher Jonas Akers, a 2-year starter for the Saints with some hardware to boot, part of 2 sectional titles. Also a member of the National Honor Society, a student ambassador, and an Eagle Scout. And when he's not playing, he's leading the student section, football and soccer. Good luck after graduation, Jonas. I'm Dave First with another RTV6 Senior Salute.
Victorious hearts, and I approve this message.
Thanks for watching RTV6 World News Tonight with David Muir.